ready to dive into the world of nanowires.
Definitely. It's some pretty mind-blowing stuff.
I'm definitely intrigued, especially with what we've read in this research.
Yeah, manipulating matter at such a small scale, it's like unlocking a whole new dimension of possibilities.
So let's start with the basics. What exactly are nanowires, and why should we be excited about them?
Imagine a wire, but thousands of times thinner than a human hair. Almost unbelievably thin.
Okay, I'm picturing it, but why does that matter so much?
Well, at that size, materials start to behave really differently. It's not just about shrinking things down, it's about entirely new properties emerging.
There's like a whole new set of rules for how things work. Give me an example.
Think about optical waveguiding. Nanowires can guide light with incredible precision.
Like fiber optics, but even smaller.
Exactly, but with the potential to be far more efficient. This could revolutionize everything from telecommunications to solar energy.
Okay, I see where this is going. Faster internet, more efficient solar panels, all thanks to these tiny wires. What else can they do?
Let's talk about photocatalysis. Imagine using sunlight to clean pollutants from the air.
Wait, so these nanowires can help clean up the environment?
That's the idea. Nanowires can act as catalysts, speeding up chemical reactions using light. It has huge potential for environmental remediation.
Wow, that's impressive. Anything else?
Have you ever heard of superhydrophobicity?
Can't say that I have.
It basically means extreme water repellency. And it's most clearly shown with carbon nanotubes, or CNTs.
CNTs, those are.
A type of nanowire, yes. They're incredibly good at repelling water.
So like a raincoat, but on a microscopic level?
Think bigger. Imagine self-cleaning windows, fabrics that never get wet, even more efficient desalination plants.
Okay, now you're talking about solving some major global challenges. This is what's so fascinating about these nanowires. They have the potential to impact so many areas of our lives.
Exactly, and we are only just scratching the surface of what's possible.
So we've got these tiny wires with extraordinary abilities, but how do we actually put them to work? So we've explored the amazing things individual nanowires can do, but this research also talks about arranging them into arrays. What happens when we start putting these nanowires together?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. Imagine instead of just one tiny wire, we have thousands or even millions all working together.
Okay, I'm picturing a microscopic city of nanowires. What's the advantage of organizing them like that?
By arranging them in specific ways, we can amplify their already impressive properties, sort of like creating a superpower team of nanomaterials.
So it's not just about the individual nanowires anymore, it's about how they interact with each other as a group.
Exactly. The arrangement itself unlocks a whole new level of possibilities. For example, we can have vertical arrays, where the nanowires are standing upright, like a field of nanotubes.
Okay, I can visualize that. What about arranging them in other ways?
We can also create horizontal arrays, where they're laid flat, kind of like a microscopic circuit board. Each orientation has its own unique advantages.
So how does changing their orientation actually affect what they can do?
Well, let's go back to the example of CNT membranes for water filtration. Imagine the CNTs are all standing upright. They create these tiny channels that allow water molecules to pass through while blocking larger contaminants.
So it's like a super efficient filter, all thanks to the way the CNTs are arranged.
Precisely. The vertical alignment is key to making it work effectively. And it's not just about filtration. The arrangement is also crucial in things like LEDs.
Really? How so?
By controlling the spacing and orientation of nanowires in an LED, we can enhance both its brightness and the purity the colors it produces.
So a well-organized nanowire LED would be brighter and have more vivid colors than a jumbled one.
Exactly. Think about it like an orchestra. When all the instruments are playing in harmony, you get a much richer and more powerful sound. It's the same principle with nanowires.
That's a great analogy. Now, we've talked about arranging these nanowires, but within an array, are they all identical?
Not necessarily, no. Actually, nanowires come in a surprising variety of shapes and sizes.
Oh, tell me more about these different types of nanowires.
Well, we have nanorods, which are basically solid cylinders. Then there are nanotubes, which are hollow like tiny straws.
Okay, and I'm guessing those shapes influence their properties.
Absolutely, but it goes beyond just those basic shapes. We also have nanobelts, nanoribbons, and even more complex hierarchical structures.
Hierarchical structures. Now that sounds really complex.
Think of it like a tree, with its trunk, branches, and leaves, all connected in a specific way.
So we can have nanowires that branch out and create these intricate tree-like structures.
Exactly. These hierarchical structures allow us to further fine-tune their properties for specific applications.
That's pretty mind-blowing. It's like we're becoming architects of the nano world, designing and building things with atomic precision.
It's a fitting comparison. And it's not just about the shape and organization of these nanowires. The material itself also plays a crucial role.
So the type of material matters as much as how we arrange them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's consider carbon nanotubes again. They're made entirely of carbon atoms, but even a slight twist in how those atoms are arranged, what we call chirality, can dramatically change their properties.
Chirality. I haven't heard that term before.
Think about your left and right hands. They're mirror images of each other, right? Made of the same stuff, but with different orientations.
Okay, I get it. So a left-handed CNT would be different from a right-handed one.
Precisely. And those differences can be significant. For instance, one might be a good conductor of electricity, while the other acts like a semiconductor.
Wow, just a tiny twist in their structure completely changes how they behave.
That's the beauty of working at the nanoscale. Small changes can have huge effects, and it's not just about the inherent properties of the material. We can actually manipulate them further through a process called doping.
Doping. I vaguely remember that term from chemistry class. Refresh my memory.
Think about adding a pinch of salt to a pot of water. The salt, even in that tiny amount, changes the water's conductivity.
Right, so doping is like adding a pinch of something to the nanowires to tweak their properties.
Precisely. By introducing small amounts of other elements into the nanowire structure, we can enhance their conductivity, modify their optical properties, or even change how they interact with heat.
So it's like fine-tuning a recipe, carefully adding ingredients to achieve the exact flavor we want.
Exactly. Doping gives us incredible control over the final properties of the nanowires.
This is all so fascinating, but I have to imagine that when you're dealing with structures this small, things don't always go perfectly to plan. What about defects? I mean, we're talking about building things atom by atom. There's bound to be a little imperfection here and there, right?
Yep, absolutely. At such a small scale, defects are practically unavoidable. It's like trying to build a house of cards in the middle of a windstorm.
So how do we deal with that? Are these defects a major setback for nanowire technology?
It might sound surprising, but defects aren't always a bad thing. In fact, sometimes they can actually be beneficial.
Wait, beneficial defects? That's like saying a crack in a vase makes it more valuable. How does that work?
Let's think about those carbon nanotubes again. Imagine we're using them to reinforce a polymer, kind of like adding steel rods to concrete. A perfect CNT might have a smooth surface, which actually doesn't bond as effectively with the polymer.
So you're saying a little imperfection could actually make the bond stronger?
Exactly. A defect, like a slight irregularity in the arrangement of atoms, can create a better bonding site.
So it's like the defect acts as a kind of anchor, giving the CNT a better grip on the surrounding material.
Fascinating. Are there other instances where these defects come in handy?
Definitely. Let's talk about oxygen vacancies. Many materials need oxygen to maintain their structure, but sometimes you're missing an oxygen atom here or there.
So it's like a missing piece in a puzzle. Does it mess up the whole picture? You might think so, but it's actually quite interesting. By controlling these oxygen vacancies, we can fine-tune a material's properties. Specifically, we can influence its ability to absorb light.
So we're talking about controlling how a material interacts with light just by tweaking its oxygen content. That's incredible. What are the implications of that?
Huge implications for things like solar cells. By controlling the oxygen vacancies, we can actually make solar cells more efficient at capturing sunlight.
It's amazing how we can turn these tiny imperfections into advantages.
That's what's so exciting about nanotechnology. It challenges our traditional understanding of material science, showing us that flaws can sometimes be opportunities.
We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, from individual nanowires to massive arrays, and even the potential benefits of imperfections.
And we're only just scratching the surface of this incredible field. What we've discussed today is just a glimpse of the revolutionary potential of nanowire technology.
It's clear these tiny structures have the power to reshape industries, from energy to medicine to electronics and beyond. I'm definitely leaving this deep dive feeling incredibly optimistic about the future. Thanks for taking us on this journey.
It's been my pleasure. The nano world is full of surprises, and I can't wait to see what discoveries are made next.